Okay, nakamute pala ako. Magandang gabi po sa mga katipo ng Pilipinas. Ito po ang ating katipunan. Muling sumasa inyo, mga tagapakinig, upang magbigay ng mahalagang impormasyon, magbigay liwanag at higit sa lahat, makinig sa inyong mga daing at kuro-kuro hinggil sa mga problemang patuloy na nagpapahirap sa ating kalagayan at kabuhayan. Sa susunod na 2 oras, sisikapin po namin ipaliwanag ang iba't iba pang mga bahagi ng ekonomiya, mga mabibigat na local and international issues na may malalaking epekto sa ating buhay at kinabukasan. Ito po ang inyong katipon na si Itos Valdes sa ngalan ng ating tatay na si Chairman Butch Valdes. Kasama natin po si Cathy, Cruz at si Vera Acevedo at iba pa natin mga katipon mula sa Save the Nation Movement, Philippine LaRouche Society at sa Partido Politikal ng Katipunan Demokratikong Pilipino. Nag-aanyaya sa inyo na makibahagi sa ating talakayan, pagsusuri ng mga kasalukuyang problema at paghahanap ng kaukulang solusyon.
Okay, magandang gabi tayo, Itos, at syempre sa lahat ng mga kababayan natin na nanonood, no, Luzon, Visayas, at Mindanao, at syempre yung ating mga kababayan sa iba't ibang panig pa rin ng mundo. Welcome po dito sa ating palatuntunan ng Ating Katipunan. Of course, minus sa ating tunay na bida ng palatuntunan ito, si Professor Butch Valdes. Mamimiss na naman natin siya. Pero kasama naman natin ang walang katulad na si Valdes. Yan ang katambal. Katambal ba? But anyway, magandang gabi po at sana saan man po kayo naroroon, ano man po ang inyong ginagawa, hindi na po kayo, samahan nyo kami sa 2 oras na talakayan. At sama-sama po tayo na matuto sa mga issue po ng ating bayan at maging mga kaganapan, no, mga mahalagang kaganapan sa iba yung dagat po. Kinakailangan po natin malaman yan. At syempre, tayo po ay napapakinggan sa pamamagitan po ng Radyo 558 sa Kalapihitan po at RMN DZXL. Huwag niyo pong kalilimutan. At syempre, tayo po ay inaalalayan ng ating mga broadcast technician mula pa rin dyan sa himpilan ng RMN DZXL sa Guadalupe, Makati. At syempre, sa ating Katipunan channel kay Ver Archivido. At syempre, magandang gabi rin sa lahat ng ating mga kasama mula sa Zoom. At halina po kayo, yung mga hindi pa po pumapasok, samahan niyo po kami at tanungin niyo po si Itos ng mga gusto niyo malaman at sa mga tatalakay po natin. Magandang gabi po. Cathy Cruz po ang inyong makakasama sa loob ng 2 oras. Itos?
Okay, ang ganda ng intro mo, Cathy. Kwentuhan mo ko muna kami, yung t-shirt mo. is What's Up Pilipinas. You tell us what it's about first. Ano yung What's Up Pilipinas?
What's Up Pilipinas, it's actually a blogger na naisip niya na ano ba nangyayari sa Pilipinas. Sa bansang Pilipinas, mapayaan ay isyong politikal, isyong pagnenegosyo at maging sa ating kapaligiran sa travel, no? Mahilig din kasi siya mag-travel. But by profession, he is actually a electronic communication engineer. Kaya lang, nahaling siya dito sa kanyang pagbablog sa pamamagitan ng social media. Of course, alam naman natin no, na naalala mo, Itos, na noong mga panahon na yon na hindi pa uso ang social media, ay talagang nakokopo ng mass media, no, ng mainstream media, yung mga balita. And fortunately, nagamit ang social media para ilabas ang katotohanan, mga tunay na kaganapan. At yun yung nag-inspire doon sa may-ari nitong What's Up Pilipinas. Itos?
Right, okay. Bagay na bagay sa'yo yung mga ganyan, Cathy. Namang backup ka, parang batang-bata, millennial na millennial ang dating natin, no? Sa WhatsApp na yan. So, good. Okay, that's good. At least na-promote natin yung whatsappilipinas.com. Okay, so for tonight's show po, we'd like to discuss a few things, no? Dami kasing naganap na mga meeting at conferences this past week, no? And we'd like to discuss these things tonight, starting with yung recent conferences, the ASEAN Summit and the APEC and the G20 meetings dito sa Southeast Asia. And then yung ginagawa po ng ating presidente na si Bongbong Marcos. Second part, we would like to discuss. I would like to bring up also this discuss for a while yung COP summit na ginawa sa COP27 summit na ginawa sa Egypt. Okay? And then discuss a bit about that and talk about those things. And then sa huli po, a short update of what's actually going on dito sa United States, yung election watch natin, yung midterm elections, at ano yung mga kasinungalingan na naman na sinasabi dito sa mga mainstream media about what's really going on. So yun lang o. In between that po, of course, if you have questions and want to clarify a few things, and if we can, we will help clarify those questions in between each topic, of course, and how it relates to us here dito sa Pilipinas. So the first one is yung recently concluded meetings dyan sa Asia Pacific Economic Conference called the APEC and the ASEAN Summit. Makikita naman yung mga summaries dito sa news, no? And I think the most significant aspect of it, lalo na dito in the context of the world events po, ay ang pronouncements and statements by our President, Bongbong Marcos, which is actually very encouraging for us in the sense of our regional security and what to look forward to in the next period to come. Now, this was discussed extensively last night. Last night po, si Chairman, yung tatay ko po, along with Rita Gadi and Ado Paglinawan, meron silang show dito sa Ating Katipunan, Katipunan Channel, every Saturday po at 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock called Crossfire. At dinidiscuss nila yung mga issues na ganito. And last night, na-discuss po nila that Bongbong actually made a statement during the bilateral meetings with China po. Sabi po ni Bongbong na they will respect the one China policy and actually looking forward to cooperation with regards to all other issues pertaining to the relationship of Philippines and China, which we presume that includes the West Philippine Sea, the South China Sea issue. So that is a very encouraging sign. Now, there are other topics that we can discuss, but remember po last week na discuss po natin na si Bongbong had dinner with Klaus Schwab and at yung mga iba pa. May meeting pa siya with, nakita sa isang video na medyo he was chatting with Joe Biden pa. So all of this is happening and sabi po natin, tignan natin in the next few days what the pronouncements will be regarding this. And it is very encouraging to see our president take that stand of one China. Alam niyo po kasi sila Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum at yung mga iba pang mga sabihin na natin yung mga politicians, including Joe Biden, they are actually more interested in fomenting conflict and creating a strategy of tension, they're implementing a strategy of tension with the Southeast Asia theater, and so to keep us on unfriendly terms with China. China kasi po yung one of the biggest, if not the most, one of the biggest economies sa buong mundo. Alam po natin yan. And the past president, before Duterte, si Pinoy po, ginamit po ng mga Amerikano to go against China. Siya yung ginawang attack dog, kumbaga sabi ni chairman nga, na yung ginagamit pang away, pang provoke kay China. And ito naman our former president Benigno Aquino Jr. The third was a willing participant in this. So lahat ng sinabi ng US at yung mga ibang mga sabihin mo ng mga deep state CIA sinusundan po ni Noynoy. Now there was a change in policy when Duterte came into power. Also, not just for the Philippines, but the same year that President Duterte came into power in May, that November, si Trump naman ang pumasok dito. And it was a total reversal, 180-degree turnaround from the policy of war that Obama and the Democrats wanted. Malala po natin, napamura pa si Duterte kay Obama. It was a very, very publicized exchange, no? We can only speculate what Obama tried to tell Duterte kahit paalis na siya. And based on that, and following that, when Trump came into power, nagmeeting pa sila dito, and the relationship, at the very least, with Trump, sasabihin na natin, was very good. At the very least. Now, and he did not interfere with Duterte's warm embrace in cooperation with China and for peace and stability in the region. So that was a total 180-degree umalik. Now ito, pumasok na naman to si Bongbong, and it seems like he's taking that stance also of non-conflict. Kumbaga, namimili na siya ng side. Dito na siya sa independent foreign policy, susundan niya to. It seems like it by his statement. Now in January, I think he will be meeting Xi Jinping again, and let's see what he is going to discuss with Xi, and let's see if the cooperation, the relationship will continue towards that. As opposed to, merong video na kumakalat, kung napansin natin, during those meetings, itong si Xi parang pinagalitan pa niya si Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It was a video, parang kunwari candid, pero I'm sure alam nila na sinushoot sila, na pinagalitan niya, pinagsabihan niya, kasi parang kumbaga trinaydor ni Trudeau pinapag-usapan. So the tension was because Xi parang pinagsabihin niya yung bata na parang mali yung ginagawa mo. Pare, pinag-usapan natin to, tapos kinakalat mo yung ganyan. Hindi yan ang tama. Okay, so, pero alam na po natin na yung ugali nitong si Trudeau, tsaka alam na po natin yung ugali nitong si Biden, and then other people like Macron and around the world, no? And the leaders that all went against President Trump, okay, alam na po natin lahat ng ugali nila. So it's no wonder that syempre siguro napikon na rin yata itong si President Xi at lumabas ang kanyang galit kay Trudeau, which is good because now the world saw that China is not going to be pushed around by these fake leaders that yung mahilig lang sa mga pakyut. So that's what I wanted to discuss to comment on these issues, no, with regards to the meetings that President Bongbong Marcos attended. So now there are things that he has to do still to prove his point or to see if he is sincere in terms of his pronouncements, no? Sabi nga ni Chairman kagabi sa Crossfire, kailangan kung talagang seryoso siya, he will fire all members of his administration that are not in line with this path or this policy. Maalala po natin na months ago na yung Defense Secretary mismo ni Bongbong, sabi po niya, kung gusto manggera ng US, sama kami sa US against China. Now, this is opposite of what the President himself, the Commander-in-Chief, is saying. So sabi nga ni Chairman, kung seryoso siya, fire his the general who said that, Chief of Staff. He should replace him immediately. And all those who follow that line of thinking, the Department of Foreign Affairs heads, and all the people in the bureaucracy who are not following the president's policy. They don't deserve to be in government, and they were just going to be undermining his policies left and right. So with that, we congratulate, with those statements, we congratulate our president, Bongbong Marcos, for putting his foot down and saying, no, we will respect the one China policy. We will respect our relationship with China. So with that, we can show him that we appreciate that stance. Hopefully lang, sabi nga ni Chairman, he puts his money where his mouth is and gets rid of the snakes in his cabinet so we can move forward as a nation properly. Yun lang po. Any thoughts on this, guys? Cathy?
Yan. Alam mo, Sir Itos, napapaisip lang po kasi ako dito sa mga meetings na dinaluhan ng ating Pangulo, no. One thing na medyo po ako yung tungkol po dito sa may binanggit po kasi sa isang news yung tungkol dito sa logistics, yung in-urge ni PBBM urges APEC leaders to act on shipping and logistic issues. So gusto ko lang po malaman, Sir Itos, kung ano po ba dapat, kasi di ba ang nagiging problema po kasi natin pagdating dito sa mga pagdaan sa mga tinatawag nating mga canals o daluyan ng tinatawag nating mga shipments ay una yung mataas na tinatawag nating tariff po ba tawag doon, at minsan yung paghihigpit. So ano po ba ang nakikita nyo na dapat gawin ng ating Pangulo pagdating sa ganitong bagay?
Well, again, we will go back to history, no? Parati natin sinasabi yung Treaty of Westphalia. Okay? So we will go back and say, yung treaty po ng Westphalia, and Chairman has said this story many times before. But to summarize it, it is before the Treaty of Westphalia, lahat ng mga nations in Europe in that area, Germany, Italy, and that area, lahat sila nag-aaway, iba't ibang interest yan. So yung river, may isang river na dumadaloy dyan na crisscrossing all of these countries. What they did was the Cardinal Mazarin of Italy, years before that, siguro 30 years, or was that the last 30 years of the 100 Years' War? Last 30 years, away-away yan. And every time shipments come in, goods from other countries, commerce, every time dumadaan sa per port, mataas yung singil sa taxes. Right? So all the way sa dulo, siya yung pinakamataas. Ngayon, hindi sustainable yon. So sabi ng kailangan mag-usap tayo. So there was a conference, the Treaty of Westphalia, they call it, and said, how do we approach this? What is the proper approach to these types of things? And they said, the proper principle that should be imbibed by all those present is, what will be the benefit of the other and not the benefit to myself? So sasabihin mo, ano yung prinsipyo, ano yung law or ano yung policy natin na pwede magbenepisyo ang neighbor ko, hindi ako. So lahat sila hindi makasariling mag-isip. And that's how they came up with the proper treaty, the proper rules governing all of this. And that led to a peace of Westphalia. So in summary, that's what it is. So I think Bongbong, you know, he again, babalik tayo sa ama niya, no? Si Ferdinand. Now, si President Ferdinand Marcos, he was not a warmonger.
Yeah.
He wanted a strong, united, for example, Southeast Asia. He had yung dreams po niya is the Philippines will be a strong country, but along with other strong nations in the region. And he wanted to get everybody together and have a bloc. Gusto nga niya may bloc na Southeast Asia for trade and political power and all of that. And the Philippines will be leading that. Yan po ang gusto ni Ferdinand Marcos. Now, I think Bongbong should invoke that spirit of his father again in approaching this and say, and using the lessons of the Treaty of Westphalia, for example, and say, let's get together and let's find a solution to these issues so that all nations involved benefit. Hindi lang one nation over the other. Now that is contrary to the thought of beggar thy neighbor. Instead, as Mahathir said, prosper thy neighbor dapat yung policy. Okay, so that is also contrary to anybody espousing free trade that says matira ang matibay and only the strong survive. And you will only survive if you kill your neighbor. Right? So that is diametrically opposed to that kind of thinking. And that will protect that kind of policy and that kind of alignment will protect from outside forces who seek to divide and conquer, which is the spirit of all empires and all empire thinking, whether it's a military empire or banking empire that seeks to divide and cause rifts among nations, that causes unfair imbalances in trade, in politics, and everything. So I think yun yung ano ko, Kat, na I think Bongbong should invoke the spirit of his father, not just here, but in everything else also. Dapat. He should be proud that he is the son of Ferdinand Marcos. He shouldn't shy away from that. And that is his legacy, the continuation of building this nation. Yun yung inisip ko, Cathy. Yun lang po.
Thank you, Sir Itos. No? May kanina nagtataas ng kamay si Sir Johnny Ventosa. Anyway, gusto ko lang i-acknowledge lahat ng mga kasama natin dito sa Zoom. Si Johnny Ventosa, Jeffrey Valdes, of course, Carlo EY, and meron pa tayo ibang mga kasama na hindi pa nagpapalit ng kanilang mga pangalan. Pero ibigyan muna natin ng pagkakataon si Sir Johnny para magtanong. Sir Johnny, magandang gabi.
No, I'm just surprised that there seems to be turnaround as far as their attitude on the president is concerned, which in a way I am glad, because I mean, after all, he is our president and we should at least support him in whatever way we can. My point is that I do agree with the chairman that he really should prove himself. I mean, there have been so many other issues wherein in my opinion, he seems to have been, well, whatever, misguided or whatever, but maybe he should change his cabinet. And there's one more thing. Well, anyway, that's all I'd like to say. I'd like to hear more. I wonder what happened to the WEF forum. I mean, he never came up to explain exactly what he has agreed with them. Has he agreed with them? Has he disagreed with them? We don't know. And I think that WEF point is very important. So I don't know if there has been any news on that ethos. So it's been a long wait. It's been a rather long wait. Thank you anyway.
Thank you, Johnny. Kratos?
Yeah. There hasn't been any news yet. Meaning, aside from the usual statements of the general statements of these organizations, no? But like you said, the knock on Bongbong is that he seems to wants to be liked by everybody, so he will say what everybody wants to hear depending on who his audience is. So, but this one, I think that he put his foot down with this, and we should commend him for that. But the next months or so, we'll see. The next few weeks or month, we will see where he's really going with this. But again, I really think he should invoke the spirit of his father with this, because there is a history, and he is part and parcel of that history of the Philippines, that his father, the path that his father laid down, and should not shy away from it. And that will be his legacy. That is what the people are looking for. And there's nothing to be ashamed of about that. Yun lang yung ano ko dyan.
Thank you, Sir Itos. And of course, Jeffrey Balse, nagtatanong din po. Magandang gabi po, Sir Jeffrey.
Good evening, Cathy. Thank you. Good evening, Carlos and Johnny. Thank you for your insights. Ako, and I share Carlos Valdes' sentiments that every son has to be proud of his father. And Bongbong shouldn't be ashamed, regardless of what people say. But I also believe that every father wishes their son to exceed them. And I think the best words a father and son can say and hear to each other is to say, you are a better man than I was. And the greatest compliment the son can tell his father is to say no. But in relating it to our national destiny, I think Bongbong has to have the aspiration to exceed his father. And he has every means available in his hands to do so. And my sentiment is I feel sadness that he doesn't do that. It's a good observation to say that he doesn't want to displease anyone, but Winston Churchill himself said, if you have enemies, don't worry, because it means you have stood for something. If you have lost friends, don't worry, because they weren't good friends to begin with, and you will gain newer and worthier ones. And if I were to give unsolicited advice to the president, that's what I would give. We live in a cruel, uncertain world at this time. And we don't need a president who will simply choose sides. I think we need a president. The Filipinos need a president. I, as a Filipino, even if I am an Australian citizen. Want someone to represent my race, to lead the race, and not just treat the race as simply a participant and observer. I am hoping that Bongbong would break new grounds, open new possibilities. Like here in Australia, I am encouraging Australia, and I may say this openly, to take an active part and even eventually join ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, because it's a better institution than the EU. In fact, it has a better prospect of succeeding than the United States because of the sheer diversity, openness, and going beyond. I think Johnny somehow implied this, that we have to go beyond selfish, patriotic interests. But rather, we also have to think that when we deal with countries, it has to be in a positive sum or win-win arrangement. It can't be, okay, pagbibigyan ka namin o pagbigyan mo kami. I feel that sells us short. I think what we should rather say in partners is, deal with us because it's in your best interest and it's also in ours. We still have to achieve that sense of win-win, not that sense of the greatest good for the greatest number, or even to the extent na kampihan. So I believe we live in exciting times. We shouldn't rely so much on Bongbong, but I think we should finally, at this time, rely on each other. That's why I thank you for this venue, that we can interact, we can exchange and break new grounds, and not be dependent on a president or a party, but be dependent on each other in the belief that the Filipino counts in this world. We can make a difference. We have been making a difference, but we can do even more. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Cerritos.
Yes, agree with everything Mr. Jeffrey said. Definitely, and I feel the same, that I will never live up to my own father. I will, I'm just hoping that to be, if I was half the man he is, that's a success for me, right? So I'm trying my best to be able to talk as long as extensively and as deeply as he does here in Ating Katipunan, here with all the insights and all the historical historical facts and historical stories that he does. So again, he's right, and I agree right now that these times, though, I would say, is no different from the past, except of the actual threat right now of a nuclear war. But in terms of the conflicts, in terms of the nations and the political maneuverings, there are many historical times in history that these things have shown. And Mr. Valdes is right that coming together and looking for a solution does not rely solely on our president, although he is our president and therefore represents us. Like-minded individuals and citizens, whether they live here or in other countries, they are still patriots, and they are still moving. They still want to see our nation move forward and move forward in the direction that benefits all, and so with our neighbors. So I agree. Okay, Kath.
Siyempre, nagtataas din ng kamay si Carlo EY. Carlo, magandang gabi sa'yo.
Good evening po sa lahat, no? At sa mga nanonood sa ating Ating Katipunan channel, no? Mas siguro, dapat din talaga obserbahan din natin ang mga pangyayari sa bansa ito at sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo. Paano ito makakatulong sa atin para sa bayan natin na ito? Yun po muna.
Sir Itos?
Okay, is that a question, Carlo? Hindi ako sure kung question yon. Paano ma-obserbahan yung mga... Yes, I think that's what we're doing now as a dito tayo sa Ating Katipunan every Sunday. I think that's what we're doing, no? Commenting on our current events and give our own 2 cents. And hopefully someone in a position of influence can hear us and hear our ideas, because it is essentially that's what drives any event or any historical outcome forward, is the power of these ideas. And nobody has the monopoly on all good ideas. But the more people that have ideas in one room, good ideas in one room is better than 1 or 2 people that just decide on their own. So yes, using the events in history that we see, the issues that come out, we should not be reactive, but instead proactive, that we will influence that, not let that be a source of reactionary this way or that. Yun lang po. Okay, Kath, anything else?
Ako, Sir Itos, may tanong lang ako. Kasi, di ba, sinasabi nila na itong mga pagpupulong na pinupuntahan o inaatagan ng ating Pangulo ay para rin makainganyo ng mga investors sa ating bansa. Nagiging kapansin-pansin even sa mga nagdaang administrasyon, no? Sa halip na parang gumanda ang estado ng ating bansa sa mga investments na tinatawag o pagpasok ng mga investors, parang sa halip na guminhawa ang buhay ng sambayan ng Pilipino at maging maganda yung estado ng pagnenegosyo ng ating mga kababayan, ay mas bumabagsak ang ating mga kababayan, no, yung mga nagnenegosyong Pilipino. At parang ang namamayani na lang, nakakalungkot isipin na sabi nga nung isang mga negosyante na nakakausap ko, nakakainggit yung mga foreign investors natin kasi 100% na sila ay nabibigyan ng may mga discounts at kung ano-ano pang benepisyo. Samantalang tayong mga Pilipino, lahat ng pahirap na taxes, lalo na dun sa mga nag-e-export o nag-i-import ng mga kababayan natin na talagang nagnenegosyo dito, no? Imbis na gumaang daw ang buhay nila, parang hirap na hirap sila dahil sa mga ini-impose na mga taxes. Ano pong masasabi po ninyo, Sir Itos?
Well, with this, I think this is our friend, Mr. Valdes. I will allow him to react to this comment, and then after him, I will give my opinions. But I think he's in a good position to answer this.
Okay, thank you, Itos. My opinion is this. You see, our problem with the economy is cartels. So there are, and I don't blame the president for this because he inherited this. But there has been the tendency to treat cartels with not just kid gloves, but with privileges. And the problem with having a cartel is, or cartels is you have to pay higher prices for lower quality and scarcity. And when that happens, the general population suffers more. And those who control the cartel enrich themselves so much. Kaya, have you noticed that even if Manila had the head start in developing stock exchanges in Asia, we have fallen behind in ASEAN standards. Jakarta has a bigger stock market than us, but we had the head start over Jakarta by probably 50 years. It's because a few families, and in particular, I will mention the family Coyuto, controls the seats, controls the rules, controls the markets. And you can see the same pattern in water, in electricity, in shipping, in banking, in finance. Kaya, namumulela ang Pilipinas dahil doon. And not only namumulela tayo in terms of size, we probably pay the highest rates in ASEAN, except for Singapore. And the Philippines is a third world country. Malaysia is ahead of us, and yet the Philippines pays higher rates. It's kind of embarrassing, isn't it? Because we support cartels. Now, if we allow foreign investors to come in and do not solve the problem of favoring cartels, it's like legalizing rape and allowing foreigners to rape the victim further. Sorry to use a very brutal and brusque example, but that's how it is. We need a political economic framework to confront, dismantle these cartels, and democratize the vital industries, either through performance-based regulation if it's in the hands of the state, or we cooperativize these industries so that the consumers have a say and can balance the interests of the consumers with that of investors. And if we do that, if we succeed in being able to put cartels in their place, I would say, hey, welcome aboard, foreign investors. Knock yourselves out. Because you've got a big market. I mean, when they look at the Filipino demographics, naglalaway ang mga foreign investors. Marami kaming mabibentahan yan. And also, we can hire world-class English-speaking employees. But if we put it in the hands of cartels, they will exploit our consumers and our workforce. And that's why we have to go back to that. We have to go back to that antitrust, anti-monopoly mode that we've got to democratize our economy. We've got to level the playing field. And once we have done that, by all means, welcome aboard. You bring in your capital, your technology, in an equal level playing field. Wow! I promise you, a lot of Filipinos, including myself, will want to come back to the Philippines. That I can say. And I look forward to your reaction to that, Nitos, because judging from your looks, your youth, you're the future of the country. Man, you represent the country.
Thank you, Sir Jeffrey, Sir Eton.
You're too kind. You're too kind. All of us are youthful in our desire to make this country better. But I agree. I agree everything with the cartels. I wanted to follow up the question though and ask Mr. Valdes again. What would you be your proposal, assuming to be able to say, when you do antitrust in the Philippines, when you say, how do we level the playing field through antitrust? In terms of just simplifying the details on that, why is antitrust very important in leveling the playing field? So we all understand the significance of this.
A very excellent question. Excellent question. It has to be concrete. I'll give several examples. One example is, do you remember the time when Meralco overcharged the consumers? Right?
Right.
And
right.
what did Meralco do? We will reimburse you, but in installments. And number two, we will reimburse you, but according to adjusted rates upwards. So they practically don't reimburse the consumers because they adjusted the rates, right? Now, this I will dare say, if you have overcharged the consumers, convert the overcharging into shares. Wow. Suddenly we have capital buildup, right? And low rates, double whammy benefit to the economy. Number two, then keep that principle in mind, that if there was what is charged as in terms of capital expenditure to the consumer, such as our meters, because that's a capital equipment. Don't make it a preliminary charge, but rather than our investment in the utility. Let's be fair in terms of accounting practices. If it's capital expenditure, then incorporate it into the price as a capital infusion. And what does that do? It improves the capital position of the utilities. Number one. Number two, it helps generate capital from the grassroots. And number three, if it becomes profitable, it goes back to the consumers, right? And number four, if the consumers park it or allow SSS or GSIS to be the custodians, you don't need to charge higher premiums because you've beefed up the capital position of these pension funds. Even number five, if you design it in such a way that there will be consumer representation in the utilities, even better. Less shenanigans, more transparency, more fairness. And let's extend it even further. Sorry if it sounds like ancient history, but back in 1996, Aboitiz wanted to take over an electric co-op in a province, Davao Norte, Daneco. And the electric co-op, the co-op leaders of that province told me, oh, the Aboitiz offered us 500 pesos to have a quick claim on our electric co-op. They were looking at me saying, isn't that a good deal? And I said, okay, let's look at give me your balance sheet of the electric co-op. They said, your great fear is that you owe the government 180 million pesos. I said, yes, of course, it's a cause of alarm. Okay. What's the asset base of the electric co-op? 250 million. Okay, so that means it's 70 million pesos in capital. Yes. And then how many subscribers do you have? Let's put it as 35,000. So knock out the 3 zeros. 70,000 divided by 30, or 7,500 divided by 3. It's 2,500. And I said, how much were you willing to part with your shares? 500 pesos. Congratulations, you made the Boytis 2,000 pesos richer. And I said, it doesn't stop there. I said, look at your balance sheet of that 250 million. How much of it was in land? I said, 100 million. Okay, 100 million. Can I look at, when was in your balance sheet, the last time it was valued was in 1978, almost 20 years ago when there was a war. Yes. So how much is that 100 million now? 10 times? Conservatively? Okay, let's make it this conservative, 10 times. So you have 1 billion pesos, right? 1 billion pesos more. So now there are 900 million pesos more that you can add to the net worth of the electric co-op. Congratulations, you passed that on to the avoidances. Now, if we, my point, yung punot dulo nito is this. If we properly value state enterprises in the way I've described it, you can wipe out poverty in one presidential term. You can beef up social security so that everyone can send their kids to school, have universal health care in one go, and probably even provide universal housing, because your contributions to the utilities and infrastructure is enough down payment for a house. Now, can you imagine a country like that? It's possible. Our problem really is our political leaders are just tiptoeing so that they don't offend vested interests. And this is a scary game. I'm sharing you this information, maybe because I feel I've shared it before, even before I migrated to Australia. I didn't care if it rocked the boat. And 20 years after, I'm willing to share this again. And I guess I can say, if the Filipino people are willing to fight for this, to fight for the end of their poverty, to bring their loved ones back from overseas to a sense of economic security, and it's a fight worth fighting for. Yeah, it's one of the last things I'd like to do in life. If I were to die for this and it succeeds, I'd be happy. I'd die happy.
Thank you, Sir Jeffrey, Sir Itos.
Okay, yeah, no comment. That's good. Very extensive explanation. It'll be hard sa mga kababayan natin na nakikinig sa atin tonight to parse or to dissect yung ating kaibigan na si Mr. Valdes, kasi medyo high finance and high pinapag-usapan niya. But puno dulo yan, he gave an extensive proposal of how to sort of distribute the wealth using just the anti-monopoly legislation that we don't have here in the Philippines yet. Wala tayong antitrust dito sa Pilipinas. Kaya dumadami po ang mga oligarko dito. At ang solusyon niya is to, when we implement that, parang sa US, yung mga oligarko will not be able to own all industries at all time. Yun na nga, ang problema po natin, yung legislation na natin ngayon is already giving it to them. So magiging parang, I don't know how we're going to implement, just as a comment, no? I don't know how we're going to implement an antitrust on top of, let's say, an EPIRA, or on top of, let's say, all of these other deregulation laws na allows them to already own most of the industries. So, but yun na nga po ang suggestion ni Mr. Valdes, and yun na nga, sana may na mga nakikinig dito that has but definitely po, there's more ideas coming from Joffrey than many of our economic managers ngayon na kay Bongbong. Pasensya na, but that's the truth. Lalo na yung paboritong cabinet secretary ng tatay ko, ni chairman, na si Ben Jokno. Talagang parang walang mga idea yan. Puro kopit lang. Sige, Cathy, next.
Actually, Sir Itos, naisip ko lang yung sinabi nung I had an interview with Renato Pamintuan. He's the president of the logistics company for decades na po sa industry. Ngayon, sabi nga po niya, magtataka ka bakit ba tayo patuloy na naghihirap? At bakit nga ba marami tayong mga OFW? Hindi ba raw natin naiisip na itong mga OFW natin na to, sana, kumbaga yung tuwan-tuwa raw tayo na yung mga remittances, dahil sa dami ng OFW, nakaka-contribute daw sa GDP. Sabi niya, paano nakaka-contribute? Sa lala ng importation na ginagawa ngayon at nangyayari ngayon sa ating bansa, ang pinambabayad mo dyan, dolyar din na galing dun sa mga remittances ng ating mga OFW. So paano maganda ang GDP natin ngayon? Obviously, hindi totoo yun. Kasi, puro tayo angkat. Yung produksyon ng mga magsasaka natin, wala. Kaya ang sabi nga niya, ang tanging makakaligtas lang daw sa ating bansa ay talagang paunlarin natin ang agrikultura sa bansa. Agrikultura, nasasabayan natin ng soft and hard infrastructure using this connecting food terminals dun sa ating mga roads, bridges, airports, and ports. Plus, dagdagan pa natin ng programa ng gobyerno na yung sinasabi nga ni Sir Rene Pamintuan na dapat daw ay meron tayong food value chain program. At meron din daw tayo dapat na tinatawag na Philippine Agriculture Export Program. Bakit? Kasi kung marami na tayong mga produkto, ilalabas mo ng bansa yan pero dapat quality. Ang pinakamatinding problema raw ng ating bansa pagdating sa agrikultura ay ang spoilage and perishability. Kasi wala tayong tinatawag nating mga cold storage, at ang mga food terminals natin, wala raw tayong national food terminal and even regional food terminals para hindi masisira ang ating mga produkto at yung quality ng mga produkto natin ay talagang ika nga natin ay maaasahan natin. Kaya daw hindi tayo nakakapag-export ng mahusay at pwede sana maging source of income ng ating bansa at umangat ang ating GDP ay dahil doon sa tinatawag natin na wala tayong sistema talaga. Ang agriculture sa matagal na panahon at obsolete na raw yung agriculture curriculum din sa ating dapat daw modern agriculture na ang ginagawa raw natin. And a lot more na sana nga I am inviting Renato Pamintuan to have with us dito sa ating programa. Kasi para makapagbigay siya ng input. Kasi iba talaga eh, katulad nga ng sinasabi ng Save the Nation movement, Sir Itos, di ba? Tatlong agarang hakbangin para sa kaligtasan ng ating bansa. And one of that is itong massive food production, science-driven, infrastructure-based massive food production program to double or even quadruple our food production. Eh, natatakot ako dahil darating at darating yung panahon na wala na tayong pagkain dito sa ating bansa. At ang may pagkain na lang, yung mga magsasaka natin. Eh, ilang milyon ba tayo na umaasa sa importasyon na yan? Ilan milyon ba tayong umaasa? Ilan yung mga magsasaka natin na sabi nga natin unti-unti nang kumukonti, 'di ba? So, sabi niya gano'n, sabi ni Rene Pamintuan, kung may agriculture tayo, umiikot sana yung ating kumaayos ang ating agriculture system, umiikot sana raw ang pera. Sana may pera kahit na pinakamahirap na Pilipino. 'Di ba? Sir Itos? Anyway, it's already 8:02 na po ng gabi at kayo po ay patuloy na nanonood sa pamamagitan ng ating social media accounts, Katipunan Channel. Of course, you can watch us at Facebook, FB page, and YouTube accounts. At sabayan niyo po kaming napapakinggan sa pamamagitan po ng Radyo Armen DZXL 558 sa talapihitan po ng inyong mga radyo. Nationwide po napapakinggan tayo, even worldwide, sa pamamagitan ng ating mga social media accounts. Ito pa rin po ang inyong lingkod, Cathy Cruz. Kasama pa rin ang gwapong-gwapo na si Itos Valdes. And minus ang atin pong tunay na bida na palatuntunan ito, si Professor Butch Valdes. Kasama pa rin ang iba pa natin makasama via Zoom, si Jeffrey Balse, Johnny Ventosa, Giancarlo Iway, and among others. And hopefully makapasok yung aking gilimbitahan na makasama natin. Sir Itos? May nagtataas yata ng kamay si Sir Jeffrey. Sir Jeff, maganda.
Yeah, I think may comment muna si Jeffrey.
Apo, Sir Jeff. Nakataas ang kamay ni Sir Jeff.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get back online. Medyo hirap ako mag-manipulate. Pero Cathy, you said the right thing na, other countries export their products. But the Philippines exports its people. Di ba? Napakasakit naman nun.
Correct.
Alam mo, I come from a family of 3 generations of OFWs. 3 generations. My parents immigrated to Australia. My siblings went to Spain, Saudi Arabia, Australia. And then the 3rd generation, USA, Spain, Sweden, Japan, Singapore, USA. Although it can be very colorful, parang in a way, malungkot din di ba?
Yeah.
Malungkot na when I talk to my parents, why did they leave? Because they didn't think there was a future in the Philippines for their children. When I talk to my siblings, it's because if we want a family, we could get it better in another country. And the 3rd generation is, I myself raised 2 nephews and a niece, and I said, you choose, stay in the Philippines or go to the US where your father is a US citizen. And I want you to decide not on the basis of anything else, but where you think you have a better future. They chose the US. And I said, I won't influence you. I'm just going to ask you where you think you have a better future. Siyempre, malungkot rin yun. And I came to Australia not because of the future, but because my parents didn't want to go back to the Philippines. And there was an opportunity for me to care for them here in Australia because the Australian government made it possible for me to care for them, concentrate. But at the same time, it gave me opportunities to study, to rise up the ranks of one of the oldest NGOs. And right now, I stay in Australia because I have a debt of gratitude in this country.
Kaya lang, Sir Jeffrey, sa totoo lang, hindi lahat ng Pilipino ay katulad ninyo na may choice. Alam mo yun, na pwedeng pumunta sa ibang bansa.
But you see, that's what I want, Cathy. It's not that I had a choice. I made my choices. I want Filipinos to make their choices. And masakit sa akin na to hear a person to say, I have no choice. No. I would like to be able to help you make a choice, to have choices, to generate choices. And maganda nga yung pinag-uusapan ninyo na, I mean, I'm glad I stayed in Australia because it was only here where I got to study a lot of alternative political, economic perspectives, etc. But I would like to even bring home. Kaya lang, kung umuwi ako sa atin, sa Pilipinas, maraming gustong pumatay. Masigurado ko maraming gustong papatay sa akin. And let's not be shy about it. They will call me all names. They will sisiraan nila ako, etc. Eh, ito nga sa Australia, sinisiraan ako eh. Lalo na kaya sa Pilipinas. Buti dito, kung kinakalaban ko mga Australiano eh. Di ka naman sila kaibigan. Pero dun sa Pilipinas, kaibigan at kamag-anak ko pa. Diba?
Anyway, Sir Jeffrey, bigyan natin na si Sir
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sir Jeff.
Yeah, nice to hear his story, yung background ni Jeff Valdes. Pero again you have to look at the history kung bakit tayo nagpapadala ng mga tao sa abroad, right? We've given up building our country. And we've sold our people to the highest bidders. Now, naturally, yung mga tao, they will try to seek a better life. But sending out people to work as sending out our people as a matter of policy to shore up our dollar reserves is not an economic policy, and it is part of the destruction of our nation. Now, see President Ferdinand Marcos at the time, he had that policy also, because he was arranging deals with Saudi Arabia and the Arab countries and other places that wanted our engineers, that wanted our skilled workers, and offering them a chance to earn in dollars. And that grew and grew and grew. And we're probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, but ang alam ko, we're the only country that has an agency devoted to sending people abroad. Philippine Overseas Employment Agency. Kumbaga, tayo pa yung nag-actively seek ng jobs for Filipinos. In other words, we can't even provide enough jobs for them. When other countries, remember po, during the turn of the century, and America was accepting all of these immigrants because they needed jobs, because they had a plan to grow. All of these immigrants and going away from war-torn Europe and other places, they wanted to go to America because there's so much opportunity there. Because America was on its way to building and building and building. That was their policy. That was the intent of the nation. Now, if say, the Philippines has a policy for the next 25 years, we will build our nation. How? Infrastructure, energy, and food. May plano tayo. We will have a national energy development program, which includes nuclear and includes all energy production technology, okay, on different parts of the country where applicable. Why? Because we will need X amount of kilowatts, to fund X amount of infrastructure projects, to fund X amount of increasing agricultural goods. Now, when you do that, you need the people who are skilled workers and jobs. You will have to bring back all of those OFWs that are engineers working on ships, working on different industries, because you need to give them, we need people that will job. And kulang pa yan. We will have to accept workers from around the region. We will be the #1 job producing country in Southeast Asia and maybe even Asia because of the intent of that country. Kung gusto natin lumaki, we have big dreams. Ito yung gusto natin mangyari. And we will lay out the blueprint of this. By definition, meron tayong kailangan na tao to fulfill all of those skills. Kung hindi sila marunong, we will train them to be welders, to be skill builders. Now, where am I getting this? Tignan lang natin yung ginawa ni Franklin Roosevelt sa US. Right? He literally built the US out of the Great Depression. Everything. Using electricity, using massive infrastructure projects, using everything. Kailangan nila ng tao to build. And by the time 1930s, he came in 1932. By the time 1940s came in, or 1936, 37, yung capacity building ng production, yung productive power of the US was second to none. And that helped them win World War II. Because they kept building and building and building tanks, jeeps, ships, planes, what have you. Basta build lang sila. And kailangan nila ng tao. That's why after World War II, sila yung #1 economy pa rin. And that's why we had the Bretton Woods and the dollar was the most trusted currency. Ganun talaga. But hindi ba pwede gawin ng Pilipinas yan? Di ba? Hindi ba kaya natin gawin yan? If that's the policy. If that's the intent of our leadership. Not to simply manage our debt. Not to simply improve relationships with our debtor, our creditor countries like the US and the Europe and even China. Not to simply do that, but to build our economy from within so that we will not have to need help from them. That we are so self-sufficient enough to feed our people, give adequate jobs, give them a life long-term with retirement. Doon lang magiging successful yung SSS program natin. Otherwise, magiging utang ng utang yan. It's not going to be sustainable. Ngayon pa lang hindi na. But if people are given the adequate work, and it's not about the money, yung value po ng pera. It's about what the money represents in the economy. It's how much your money can buy in the economy. Ang pera po, papel lang po yan eh. Walang intrinsic value yan. you have to look at the Weimar hyperinflation to get a sense na yung taas at baba ng value ng pera is relative. Pero yung production, power of production, infrastructure, agriculture, energy, everything, it's not necessarily depend on your monetary value. It's the intent of the nation. It's the intent of the leadership to what we want to happen in the nation. That's where the value lies. Ito ang gagawin natin. So we need X amount of steel. We need to produce X amount of like this. We need to produce X amount of cement. We need to produce... All of that will come into play. Kaya sobrang lakas. Ito yung graphic ni Ver, yung hyperinflation. You can see how fast it just deteriorated to the US dollar. And this is within 6-7 years. And in 1923, wala na. Free fall na siya. In May, 48,000 to Reichsmarks to 1 US. And then by December, 4.2 trillion. People were using it, ginagamit pang init, pang sahog. Right? That's what happened to the money. It's not worth anything anymore. Kasi wala na, bumagsak na yung production nila. Zero na. And that's what I mean. So all of these things, and I really believe, we need an antitrust law. Number one, we need that. Those are the legal aspects to it to ensure that it's sustainable. It's not perfect, but sustainable enough, right? Yun yung ano. But money, yung pera po, kaya nga ngayon, tinatawag nilang inflation. How much can your money buy? Yung isang 1,000 pesos, anong kayang bilhin ng 1,000 pesos? Boom. Kumukonti at kumukonti. At next year, it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse. Hindi po mag-i-improve. Kasi wala pa tayong ginagawang steps to increase production and increase. Yung pong teknolohiya to increase production of agriculture is there, has been there for 100 years. Kayang-kaya po natin. Ba't di natin ginagawa? Kung sa totoo lang, kung ginawa natin, di libre na yung bigas eh. Libre na yung manok eh. Di naman, nagpapataas lang naman yan yung dahil sa middleman eh. Hindi naman dahil sa farmer eh. Kasi wala naman, ang sinasabi naman ng farmer, walang support. Yun na nga, the policy is different. The policy has been to import, to favor imports. And they say cheaper. Yun na nga. So mas mahal mag chicken farming. And the big chicken farms here sa Pilipinas are owned by oligarchs. So they control our food, they control our electricity, they control our water. Hindi na tayo nation. We are a corporation and we're all employees paying taxes to these guys because we allowed it through our laws.
Yeah.
Correct, Kat?
Yeah, correct. Even the tollways. Isipin mo na lang kahapon, Sir Itos, galing ako ng Batangas. Biruin mo sa bawat, sabihin mo na lang, estimate na lang, 100 pesos na lang yung babayaran mo na toll fee. Ilan yung dumaraan na ibig sabihin, milyon-milyon ang kinikita araw-araw. Baka hindi lang basta milyon-milyon na yan, Sir Itos. Kung gobyerno sana ang humahawak niyan, hindi ba dapat we can generate jobs for the Filipino people? Yung pera sana na nalilikom ng ating pamahalaan, mailalagay sa iba pang infrastructure projects o sabihin na natin sa education, diba? it's high time na magising na tayo, kalampagin natin yung mga mambabatas natin. Kasi nasa kanila ang problema dahil yung mga batas na sabi nga mga mali na ginagawa nila, ginagawa nilang legal kahit immoral. 'Di ba? Hindi ko talaga maintindihan kung saan humuhugot ng kapal ng mukha yung mga mambabatas natin na gumagawa ng batas para sirain ang lipunan, sirain yung bayan, sirain yung mga mamamayan patuloy na mahirapan. Sinasadya ba nila itong lahat? May masama ba silang pag-iisip? Wala ba silang konsensya? Hindi ko talaga maintindihan, Sir Itos. Minsan naisip ko, ayoko magalit. Ayoko magalit talaga, promise. Pero minsan, di ko maintindihan bakit tayo bumuboto na para tayo nagpapalit lang ng damit, pero sila pa rin yung mga mukha. Sila pa rin yung mga, para tayo nagpapaloko, para tayo niluluto sa sarili nating mantika na hindi na tayo natuto. Ilang dekada na ba akong bumuboto? Pero still, are we going good? We're going worse. Di talaga, promise. Sir Itos.
No, right. Definitely, yung frustration, no? Sa tagal na natin nagsasama, Cathy, with chairman, dalawang dekada na yata tayo, di ba?
Yes.
Tumanda na lahat tayo dito sa pag-organizing and different administrations, no? Pero yun pa rin ang laban yun pa rin ang isinisigaw natin It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Pero yung delikado nga kasi next year we're in the danger of, actually the world is in danger of hyperinflation right now.
Yes, that's true.
Now, so the key with everything happening sa mundo ngayon, delikado ang matitira ay yung kayang pakainin ang kanilang citizen. Example, China 1.3, 1.4 billion people. Kaya nilang pakainin yan. Okay? Tayo, kaya natin pakainin ng 100, sabi mo ng 102, 103 million tayo. Kaya naman Push comes to shove, we can do this. It's just the policies ng ating mga liderato, our presidents. And, Bongbong Marcos has said all the good things. Sinasabi naman niya yung tama. Gusto niyang patayuin yung FTI ulit. Gusto niyang, gawin niya, tanggalin niya yung EPIRA, tanggalin niya yung deregulation. Diba? By using, and how can he do that? Paano niya magagawa yun? He cannot go through Congress and Senate because they are all not going to help him with this. Kasi sila mismo ang nagsulat yan. Sila mismo ang in bed with all the oligarchs. Okay? So anong solusyon niya? Kung yung puso niya nasa tama siya, na this is the legislation we need, this is the system we need, these are the organizations and the institutions we have to bring back and build up again. His instincts are correct sa ganyan. Okay? Pero kaya niyang gamitin niya yung konstitusyon. There's Article 12, Mr. President. I'm trying to sound like my chairman. Mr. President! Parang kay Duterte po. Pero ganun talaga How can you appeal? Kasi dito lang tayo na So, Mr. President, we appeal to you. Use Article 12. Read it. You can invoke Article 12 as the President of this nation. Use Article 12. Take back the utilities. Take back the basic services. and take back control over our country. It sounds simple, but you need balls, you need courage. Take it back. It's there for you to use. This is what the oligarchy and the banking cartel international, okay, do not want us to do. Yan ang pinapatanggal nila sa konstitusyon. Yan ang pinapatanggal nila. Hindi lang yung quote-unquote economic provisions. Tignan mo, lahat ng oligarchy, lahat ng gustong i-reform the Constitution. They support reforming the Constitution. Constitutional Convention para change Constitution. Yan ang tatanggalin nila, not just certain economic provisions of ownership. But they want to take out these provisions wherein a president in this system can invoke this to save his nation. Yan ang gusto nilang patanggalin. Now, this assault on sovereignty of nations is not just in the Philippines. It's around the world. Lahat ng countries that are sovereign and people that love freedom, their freedom is under assault right now. Kita mo yung sa Brazil. Yung nangyayari sa Brazil, hindi lumalabas sa mainstream media, parang walang nangyayari. Tahimik sila. Yan yung mga tinatawag nilang sarili nilang journalists. Hindi naman sila journalists eh. They're propagandists. They just recite what's told to them. Ang concern nila, hindi yung kung totoo yung balita. Ang concern nila, kung maganda sila on cam. Kung maganda makeup nila. Diba? Yan ang concern nila, mga journalista. Tapos sa radyo, concern nila yung maraming nakikinig sa kanila para humirit lang sila. So yun ang ginagawa nila, critic dito, critic doon, mura dito, mura doon. Pero wala namang solusyon eh. Right? They're not journalists. If they were journalists, they would ask, why are we not showing this on air? Yung sa Brazil. Day 20 na yata ng protesta sa Brazil. Milyon-milyon na katao lumalabas para kay Bolsonaro. Sinasabi, yung election ay, the election is a failure. It's a failure of elections. Dinaya at ano. Sino kaya ang nag-organize ng election sa Brazil? E di yung mga kaibigan natin sa Smartmatic, pareho-pareho lang yan eh. Correct? Oh. Di ba tayo natututo? Itong COMELEC natin, di ba tayo, wala bang reforma dyan? Eh kung sa dami ng kalokohan ng Smartmatic, sila pa rin kinukuha eh. Bakit kaya? Di ba? So this is what's happening now. The president should know this. You cannot do niceties anymore. You have to invoke Article 12. And the president owes all his voters, not just his voters, owes all the Filipino people that he will defend them because that's his oath of office. He will defend the Constitution and defend the citizens. Yun lang yung sinasabi natin. So it's frustrating, but you remember yung OFWs was created. Sabi nga nila, OFWs are the ones, sabi nga ni Gloria dati, President Macapagal, President Arroyo, yung nagsasalba sa ating bayan, OFWs. Eh bakit kaya? Kasi wala na tayong ginagawa eh. So ang population natin, the bigger it gets, the more employees for everybody else around the world. Hindi ba? Bakit ganon? Section 17, Article 12. In times of national emergency, when the public interest so requires, The state may, during the emergency and under reasonable terms prescribed by it, temporarily take over or direct the operation of any privately owned public utility or business affected with public interest. Section 18, the state may, in the interest of national welfare or defense, establish and operate vital industries, and upon payment of just compensation, transfer to public ownership utilities and other private enterprise to be operated by government. We have the manpower to do this. Huwag kayo maniwala sa mga oligarchy at saka yung mga PR people nila na wala tayong tao. We can run every single utility better. We just have to find the people who will help us. Yun lang, Kath, for this, yung OFW. Yung atin, dyan pa po si Cathy. Oh. Huwag ka masyado magalit, Cathy. Nasisira makeup mo.
Thank you, Sir Itos, no? At, well, of course, it's 8:32 na po ng gabi at syempre kayo pa rin po ay nanonood sa pamagitan po ng social media accounts ng Katipunan Channel at sabayan po nyo kaming napapakinggan sa pamagitan po ng Radyo Armen Dizexel 558 po sa talapitan po ng inyong mga radyo at nasa ikalawang sigwada na tayo ng ating palatuntunan. It's more than half an hour na po tayo kaya tayo po ay patuloy pa rin na nagtatalakayan. Kasama pa rin po natin, of course, si Itos Valdes at ang ating mga kasama mula sa Zoom, si Carlo Iway, si Master Sergeant Virgilio Villanueva, and Johnny Ventosa, Carlo Iway, mukhang nawala na yata si Jeffrey. Yan, si Jeffrey Balse, mukhang nag-out na siya sa ating Zoom. But of course, marami po tayong mga text messages pero meron lang pong tanong, Sir Itos, kanina. Babalikan ko lang kung did the OFW help our economy or not? Yan ang tanong ni Police Senior Master Sergeant Virgilio Villanueva. Sir Itos?
Good evening, Master Sergeant Villanueva. No, again, sumagot yata si Mr. Balse, no? Ang ginagawa kasi nila, dahil sobrang laki na ang nire-remit na pera, na dollars, papunta dito sa bansa, they use the banks. And the banks make money on that. So nauuna yung mga banks, yung mga kartel ng bangko, sila yung kumikita dyan. Now, whether this dollar, the only reason na sinasabi nilang it's helping the Philippine economy is because it increases our reserves, yung dollar reserve natin. Okay? Because of the system imposed on us na you cannot buy oil, right, if your dollar reserves are low.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot, we will not lend you money kung mababa yung dollar reserve. So yung laro na sinasabi nila sa atin is forces us and many nations to get more dollars, to buy more dollars. As if yung dollars nagiging commodity. Anuhin mo yung dollars kung hindi mo mapakain ng sarili.
Yes.
Diba?
Correct.
Hindi mo naman gagamitin yung dollars dito sa Pilipinas. Now, ngayon, you put the dollars, now it costs 60 pesos to $1. Right? Right? So sasabi nila, di mas okay sa mga OFWs natin. Kasi mas mahalaga value. Yes. But on surface, yes. Kung pera-pera lang. Kung equation lang. Pero tumataas yung bilihin dito eh.
Correct.
So bawi lang. Diba? Plus, ganito. There are less OFWs now. Because there's less demand for Filipino workers. Number one, because the economies of Europe and the US is shrinking.
Yes.
So they need less. They don't have this. They're not building anything. Okay? Number two, other countries are now more competitive than us. Marunong sila mag-English. Ano yung lamang natin? Yan sabi nila, call center daw, call center. Call centers are local OFWs. Sinong lamang dyan? Hindi naman yung OFW, yung call center agent nung lamang eh. Yung lamang dyan, yung mga companies that hire, they outsource their agents, right? So cheaper for them, they earn more money servicing American. So they can charge higher. What they pay the call center agent here is 1/5, 1/6 of what they would have paid an American to do the same job. Dahil magaling tayo mag-slang. Magaling tayo mag-English. Di ba? Kita mo, pag call center help, either Indian or Filipino or Indian and Filipino. Hello sir, what can I do? What's the problem? Yeah. Magaling kasi tayo dyan eh. But other nations are also speaking there. Now, if the cost of living keeps going up here because hyperinflation, lilipat at lilipat rin yan. Hindi permanente yung investment dyan na call center na yan.
Correct.
So as a policy, you cannot have a policy that will push your people abroad. You cannot. That's not sustainable. Yun lang, Kat.
Thank you. Alam mo, Sir Itos, habang nagdi-discuss kanya, naalala ko yung interview ko sa SL Agritech. Alam mo ba na dito sa SL Agritech, dito sa atin ginagawa, di ba, yung mga hybrid seeds. Tapos, ngayon, recently, dati ginagawa dito, ngayon may mga bansa na ngayon na katulad ng Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, na doon na mismo sa kanila ginagawa yung pagtatanim mismo ng mga hybrid seeds. At ang nangyayari, tayo, ini-import naman natin galing doon sa mga bansang yon na kung saan dito sa atin ang galing. Can you imagine that? Kung paano, ang sakit sa ulo when we talk of agriculture. But anyway, si Carlo Iwan...
Tawag dyan, Kat?
Yes, sir.
Tawag dyan, globalization.
Yeah, correct.
That's what they did. Ayaw nila kasi yung country to produce for themselves.
Yes.
Ang gusto nila, iikot yung production nyo, may quota kayo, para kumita yan yung mga traders.
Free
And
trade.
since kailangan bumenta tayo sa Thailand, kailangan bumili tayong dollar. Because Thailand will only accept it in dollars also. Kasi gusto nila rin yung reserve nila. Eh di sinong masaya?
Sila.
Right. So if the exchange rate goes down and up, sino kumikita dyan? Right? That's not possible during the fixed exchange rate system before 1971. From 1945 to 1971, it was a fixed exchange rate system under Bretton Woods.
Yes.
Walang forex market dyan. Useless eh. Walang forex trader kasi it's not a commodity. Money was not a commodity. Money was a means to buy goods. And the country that produces more goods is more trustworthy.
Yes.
And more powerful. As simple as that. That's why America was so powerful. Because they produced goods.
Yes.
Now America doesn't produce goods. Outsource lahat. China is very powerful because it produces its own goods.
Correct.
Diba? So hindi na pwedeng sabihin made in China eh. Kasi may kalidad na eh. Nandun na sila eh. And alam na nila, pwede nilang gawin mura na madaling masira. Yung bumibili tayo sa Lazada, nasisira parati kaagad. Isang gamit lang, sira na. Pero mura. Yun ang in-export. Pero hindi yun ang ginagamit dun sa China.
Yung matitibay.
Mas matibay. They can sell us cheap steel. But they have strong steel.
Correct.
They will not use cheap steel to build their government offices. But they will sell us cheap steel. Tayo naman, napakatanga, napakatalino natin, di ba? Na bumibili tayo, kala natin nakakamura, tapos pinapass natin yung mga importers ng steel na yan. Tapos pinapasa sa mga real estate developers, murang-mura. Kala mo nakakalamang. Pero eventually, masisira yan. Guguho yung mga gusali natin, yung mga bridges natin, masisira.
Correct.
Kasi eventually, it can only take X amount. Mahuhulog yan. Oh, kasi cheap. Kasi itong mga local government, napaka-corrupt. Gusto nila yung pinakamura para mapatungan nila. Wala naman silang pakialam sa quality.
May SOP.
Yes, may SOP. Because yan ang policy. Now, nobody follows anymore government grade because it's so corrupted and it's so parang nasira na yung reputation. Wala nang credibilidad.
Correct.
Kaya ang daming sa kalye sa probinsya and kalye sa different, dito lang sa Manila, sa mga natin, lalagay bagong semento, bagong pintura, next year sira na. Tapos bibili ulit, di kita na naman. Right? That's their style. But there is no policy kasi unlike the US at the time. Yung local nila matagal, 50 years, 60 years. Diba? Kalidad, mahal. Pero kalidad. Right? You cannot get you should not, sabi nga ni this economist during Lincoln's time, Henry Carey, sabi niya, free trade cheapens everything from the product to labor. While protectionism prospers labor and makes a good product. You have to do that. That's the concept of it. Free trade cheapens everything. Lahat. All countries that has a real free trade policy die. You will have war and disease and everything. Kasi yun yung yun yung design ng free trade. Walang regulation, walang protectionism, walang standards. Kung ano yung pinakamura lang. Anyway, yun lang, Kat.
Okay. At bigyan muna natin ng I just want to acknowledge pala si Michelle Celorico, no? Kasama natin siya ngayon sa Zoom. At bigyan natin ng pagkakataon muna si Carlo Iway para magtanong. And then after Carlo, Johnny Bentosa. Carlo?
Alam niyo, no-observe ko sa mga pangyayari ngayon, no? Is that kulang talaga sa kaalaman ng bawat Pilipino, eh. Bakit? Walang nagtuturo kung anong totoong nangyayari. Kaya dapat merong education campaign at dapat suggestion ko lang dito is magkaroon tayo ng education campaign para sa Pilipino. Yun po muna.
Okay, thank you, Carlo. And Johnny, Sir Johnny?
I don't know. I'm so absorbed that everything is going on. My point is that people like Joffre and Itos, they're really informing us. Because I'm very much informed of what's really going on, and I think the people don't realize this. They really don't know what's going on, and they're just being. I don't know. They're just being like robots following what mainstream media tells them now. But really, it's informing the people and having the people really begin to ask questions. And I think it's a good start. It is a very good start because instead of being reactive, as Ito says, let us be proactive and let us really be aware of what's going on, because that's the only way to educate ourselves. and to free ourselves from all this, wow, all this control going on, because whatever. Anyway, Itos, it's a pity you didn't have enough time to talk about what's going on in Mount Sinai. And because that's a very interesting topic. But anyway, maybe next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Johnny and Sir Itos.
Yeah, go ahead na. Yes, Johnny, maybe next week we can discuss that. No? But very interesting. Lots of discussions on pati doon sa Egypt, no? Yung COP27. I just wanted to say that, I'm happy that it seems like it's a failure, no? They keep,
It is.
yeah,
Wow.
their insistence on pushing this climate change agenda is actually falling flat with a lot of nations. No? And it see Klaus Schwab even went so far as to demand from African nations to pay $2 trillion as part of their commitments now to this Paris Accord and all of that. And of course, the African nations will probably just look at that and, laugh it off. Because the biggest nations are not really supportive of this already. Their agenda was to create a climate hysteria again. And it's not as, how do you say? It's not as popular as it was 10 years ago or something. So it's slowly beginning to lose its significance. This whole population and climate, and wala nang naniniwala, in other words, which is a good thing. Now, what will replace it? Yeah.
And the one world religion, I don't think would ever work anyway.
Yeah, no, that's not even going to happen. But we can discuss this further. It's good because we see the elite, the depopulation elite, advocates. Parang sila, kalat na sila. They don't know because media is already not. Seems like they've lost their loudspeakers in all of the media. Only some na lang will continue to, like the Philippines, itong mga Filipinong journalists ko, no, or these media outlets in the Philippines, all of them. They're all propagandists. They're all parroting the same line. There's no independent thinking here. So, but that's very few na. Pati sa US, pati sa Europe, sa Australia, South America, they're all turning on these guys. So panoorin nyo lang si Biden dyan sa mga ina-attend ng conference. Matatawa ka na lang kasi wala na pumapansin sa kanya. Because they know he's not the real power. He's not in control of his own faculties. How can he be in control of anything regarding the US? He's a farce. He's a clown now. There's nothing. Lalo na yung Vice President, nasa Palawan daw siya ngayon. US Vice President nasa Palawan. Siguro, nagre-relax na lang siya sa Palawan. Maraming magandang resort doon, di ba? So let's see what she's doing there. Yun lang, Kath. I think it's 10 minutes left so we can read whatever reaction.
It's 49 na po ng gabi. No? It's 8:49 p.m. na po. At it's time to read the text messages, no, or comments sent by our listeners and viewers. Their opinions does not necessarily reflect our own, but we reserve the right to read them to the public in the interest of freedom of speech. Okay, simulan na natin ang ating Katipon. Mula kay Katipon PJ, good evening, Katipon Itos, Ate Cathy, and Katipon Ver. Thank you, PJ, for watching us. At mula kay Luis Gerald, good evening po sa inyo, Sir Itos and Ma'am Kat. Sabi ni Senator Josh Hawley, patay na daw ang lumang GOP at gagawa sila ng panibago. Yung ibang GOP, nakakoncede na sila. Samantala sa Arizona, dineklara ng mga media na si Cathy daw ang nanalo, pero si Carrie Lake na dati siyang journalist ay tinukoy ang laban sa gubernatorial race. Republican si Carrie Lake. Sa House kung saan ang mga Republicans ay nakaupo na sila sa pwesto, ay ipapaimbestigahan ang Biden family. Sir Itos, baka gusto mo mag-comment? Okay.
No, it's correct. Remember po yung kay Trump, yung nagdedeklara ng panalo ang media. 'Di ba? Hindi yung official. Ang problema sa Arizona, yung official na magdedeklara ng kung sino nanalo ay si Katie Hobbs mismo. Na siya tumatakbo rin. Now, if she declares herself the winner, she can go to jail. Because she knows that they cheated like anything. Sabi nga ni Carrie Lake, 48% of all machines were sira on the day of the election. Nasira. 48%, that's half.
Kalahati yan ba?
Oh, so sabi niya, sige, ideklara niya sarili niya panalo. Siya yung nanalo. Siya yung parang diktador dyan. Tignan natin. And Carrie Lake has not conceded. Remember, Trump did not concede. He has not conceded. In fact, until now, sabi ni Trump, madaya yung election 2020. Hanggang ngayon. There are legal implications to that. Even sa Nevada yata, hindi siya nag-concede, si Blake. So, it's something worth watching. And look at it, kinakuha na yung Republicans ang House, Congressman. Now, they need a couple of more votes to win the Senate. Pag nakuha na nila yan, later on, tapos na ang boxing. What Trump is trying to do, though, is weed out, kasi yung dalawang party system na yan, may mga loko-loko rin na Republican. Ang gusto niyang i-purge at tanggalin, gagawa siya ng bagong, sinasabi nila, gagawa siya ng bagong partido. Pero tanggal lahat ng corrupt na Republican. Magsama sila ng Democrat, magsama sila lahat sa isang partido, wala siya pakialam. Ang gagawin niya parang Patriot Party ng United States. And remember po, si Trump ang pinaka-pro-life president that the US ever had. And pro-sovereign country. Ayaw niya ng gera, ayaw niya ng regime change, ayaw niya yung ganyan. Remember, and he said the future belongs to patriots, not globalists. And we have to support all countries that want to make their nations great again. Yan po ang sinasabi ni Trump sa umpisa pa lang. This guy is different. And I believe the things that are happening now, he still has massive, massive influence. Yung si Biden, palagay ko lang po si Biden is not in control of anything. Zero.
Nagmumukha siyang tanga.
Oh, hindi. Nagmumukha siyang tanga, tanga rin siya. Di ba? And Kamala Harris is no different. Okay? So something is going on in the world na hindi natin nakikita. President Trump, Donald Trump is back on Twitter. Kung may Twitter po kayo, punta kayo sa Trump, follow Trump. Kasi binalik na siya ni Elon Musk. So it's going to be fun again. Tinanggal na ni Elon Musk lahat ng loko-lokong tinatawag na fact-checker dyan sa Twitter. Dito lang sa YouTube tsaka Facebook, hindi pa tinatanggal yung mga loko-loko eh. Diba, Kat? Oh. Kahit dito tayo nagbo-broadcast, maraming loko-loko dyan sa Facebook tsaka sa Twitter eh, diba? Sa YouTube. Diba? Oh, kasunod na yan sila. Yun lang, Kat. Yun lang reaction ko.
Okay, thank you, Sir Itos. And okay, next message. Meron pa tayong 5 minuto. Mula kay Cesar Soberano, gandang gabi sa KDP, Cathy at Sir Itos. Mula kay Lynn Mutas, Sarco, good evening po mga sir. Ros, hello everyone. Happy viewing, watching from Amman, Jordan. Thank you, Ros. At mula kay Dorce Delasan, watching from the Netherlands. Hope PBBM will not be a member of WEF because we Philippines is not a member of the resilient country listed. Mula kay Boyd Beltran, good PM sir, Itos at Miss Kath, nakikinig dito sa Nueva Ecija. Salamat. Thank you po, Sir Boyd. At mula kay Boyet Periabras, magandang gabi po ang ating katipunan. Nagkakandara pa na naman ang mga tuta ng kano sa pagsalubong. Kaya Calamaris, po kayo mga amboy from Subic. Mula kay Danielo Arevalo. Good evening po, Sir Ma'am. Kay Nancuz John Dreff. Done like. Nako, o nga pala, pinaalala mo sa akin. Please like and share and subscribe nga pala ang ating mga social media accounts. At mula kay J.R. Doringo, bagong Pilipinas, bagong mukha. Mabuhay ang mga korap sa gobyerno at mga drug lords. Tinanggal si Bantag sa NBP at kailan lang ng raid ng drugs laboratory at nahuli ang mga bagong chemist para tuloy ang cooking drugs sa NBP for the ordinary Filipino. Sir Jeff, your choice is very aspirable. Many Filipinos aspiring to go to other countries. At syempre, sabi ni Jessie Kaluba, mabuting buhay po sa lahat. At sabi ni Amparo Consuelo, assuming that US is losing its power as a hegemon, it will take years because US will not just give up. It will depend on how fast is the development and strength of multipolarity. The government is supposed to be the strongest institution in the country, but in the Philippines, the government is restricted by self-imposed laws like the IPIRA. At meron pa ba? Mula kay Nets Vegs, good PM po, love, love, love. Mula kay Ross, my point of view is PBBM must get along with the WEF due to the economic and trade globalization. But he must put a limitation or boundaries so it will not happen again what they did to his father. He really learned the lesson, but a lot those sufferings around 36 years. Hopefully, and we Filipinos will pray to God that our president, God will lead his way. Mula kay Franz Ayalin, 3 puso ang kanyang ibinigay sa atin. Mula kay Luis Santero, magandang gabi po. Kay Bibi Soriano Las Vegas, kailangan po natin ng land developer farming. Tignan natin paano kalayo ang ng dollar is 2 pesos. Parang ganyan din far behind ng Pilipinas in years. Danilo Thailand, I'm late. Mula kay Virgilio Villanueva, nako, we only have 1 minute na lang. Last text na po to. May food storage tayo, yung FTI at binenta ni Pinoy. Ang gusto ni PBBM, naaalis na lang mga Pilipino na gusto nila. Hindi dahil sa kailangan nila, dahil walang trabaho. Natuto tayong kumain ng kamote o mga bungang kahoy. Wag puro tinapay. Okay, yan muna po at marami pa po tayong text messages. It's already 8:59 na po ng gabi at oras na po para tayo magpaalam. Ito po ang inyong lingkod, Cathy Cruz. Sir Itos.
Okay, sa ngalan po ng ating mga katipan dito sa Pilipinas, ang ating katipunan at sa magagaling na staff ng DZXL Radio mo nationwide, kami po ay pansamantala ng papaalam at nagpapasalamat na sinamahan niyo kami ngayon ng Ora de Peligro ng ating bayan, ng buong mundo. Dito lang sa ating katipunan hanggang sa linggo po muli, 7 to 9 p.m. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Bye everyone. Thank you po. See you next Sunday.